Welcome to Imperfect Lock Sport, or as I thought about naming it, Cheap as Lock Sport, or I could have called it Personalised Lock Sport, or Experimental Lock Sport. And I could have just as easily named this channel 10 Ways to Pick a Lock. And as a noob to lock sport as an interest, I've done a couple of videos featuring the Lockwood 110-20, and I could have just as easily done a video like this about almost any other lock I own, but this lock has featured a few times in other videos, and I thought it was about time that it had a starring role. I'm going to start with my tension tools. These are both 3.3 wiper blades. That's 3.3 mils going across. As you can see, this one has a shorter foot on it. This one has a longer leg. For some reason, I call this the long leg and that the short leg. I'm going to be using the short foot and the rigid end, not the flex end with the bend in it. And as you can see, I've got a variety of picks here, including 2 Secure Pros that came in a Chinese bulk pack, hence I'm cheap as. And this particular one I've never used before until I got to this lock last night. Then I've got another variety of picks that also came in another cheap variety pack. This one I've actually cut the end off, filed it down, and made my own pokey tool. And for those of you who have money, and yes, occasionally I do spend money, I have the Southord Maxx S-Rake, small worm, small snake, whatever you want. It's got so many names, but Southord make that one. So I've got my trusty 110-20 Lockwood. And I'm going to start with this pick, which is the Southord Maxx, sorry, not the Southord Maxx, the Secure Pro number 7. And I'm calling this the single tooth. To me, it looks something like a Bogata or a Bogata. And open without so much as raking. Okay, so this is the shallow hook, came with the Secure Pro. It's the Secure Pro number 1. I'm going to be putting that in there, and I'll call that a half rake, and it's open. Excuse me. Now the interesting part about the Secure Pro number 1 hook, I can turn it upside down and still get the lock open. Now this pick is also new to me. I haven't used this hook until I got to this lock yesterday. Hook side up and open. Hook side down, also open. Don't be afraid to play with your tools, and the good thing about the cheap tools, if they do get damaged, they're easy to replace. If you find one that you like, you can upgrade to a more expensive version of it. And you know, anything you can do on a small lock, you can do on a bigger lock eventually. I'll start on the small travel locks and I'll work my way up the series. This is an extractor, at least I think it's an extractor. Interesting that I've got 2 half diamonds. Neither of those worked on this lock, but the extractor did. Reset the lock, turn the extractor upside down, so it's just the flat side going in against the pins, and the lock is open. Now this was a pick that did have a tool shape on it. I asked around and it seemed to be something that I would never use. So I cut it off and I made myself a little pokey thing. Some people have called it a bypass. Some people have been referring to it as a knife. I put a photo up and people have commented on it. Because me being a Franger boy, I'd probably call it a Shiv. There we go. And that was actually more of a rake motion. So that's that one. I do get a greater sense of satisfaction in opening a lock using a tool that I've either made, like the tension wrench, or modified, like my Shiv. Now the Southord Maxx, the worm, the snake. I do have a cheaper rip-off version that doesn't actually work on this lock. And now this one's not going to work on this lock. Got it open, and as I've been demonstrating, you can actually use the tool upside down. If it jams, you're doing the wrong thing. And there is the lock open using the Southord Maxx. So there you go, proving that you don't need to spend a lot of money to enjoy lock sport. Small locks are as good as a big lock as far as learning skill goes. More than one tool will do the job, so use whatever tool you have available to you. Don't be afraid to modify them, and don't be afraid to use them upside down, I guess, and invert your tools, invert your picks. Thanks for watching Imperfect Lock Sport.